Madam Speaker, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Groundhog Day. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. I like it because it reminds me of what happens in the legislature here. Over the last 7 years, except for that two-year period when we had a minority government, and Madam Speaker, after about 18 months, we all were getting our legs under us, and we were getting real collaboration across all parties. And some good work was done, Madam Speaker. Good work for the people of New Brunswick, because the work for the people of New Brunswick happens in the Legislative Assembly. Should be happening in the Legislative Assembly. But the Groundhog Day, you know, you're trapped in this sort of time warp. It's a loop that just keeps running over and over and over again. You know, whoever's in official opposition, whether it's Liberals or Conservatives, you know, they take time, in fact, waste colossal amounts of time. I saw it when the Gallant Liberals were in government, and now we're seeing it now when Higgs's Conservatives are in power, Madam Speaker. It's frustrating. I agree with the member for Carleton, who soon will be a minister, I expect. I don't know who he's going to be replacing, but the member for Carleton about the time wasting. I mean, sometimes it's appropriate in the sense of if there's something so terribly wrong, to make the point to filibuster. Well, that's, you know, that happens once in a while, but to waste time for no reason at all except frustration. The government of the day is trying to ram through legislation that is significantly important to New Brunswickers without proper study, without the ability for people to comment on it, without the ability to give serious time to understand it and amend it, propose amendments to it, is a problem. And then whoever is the government of the day, bring time allocation. Bring time allocation. Now, time allocation, Madam Speaker, suggests that a plan to manage our time in this Legislative Assembly. So on its surface, it should be a good thing, so that we do our work efficiently and effectively. That was kind of the impetus for it in the first place, Madam Speaker, that it assumed that there would be negotiation among all parties in the House. And in this House, we have 4 parties, 4 House leaders. 4 House leaders, Madam Speaker. So those 4 House leaders, because it's not a bicameral Legislative Assembly, there's 4 parties here. So those 4 House leaders should be meeting regularly, I would say every morning. And in the course of that process, when it comes to the opportunity then to discuss and negotiate time management, perfect. On a particular bill, perfect. You could take this Bill 82 on the specific, and that's really what time management was intended for, was to deal with a specific bill in its various stages and come up with a time frame for it. Negotiate, Madam Speaker. That didn't happen. There was no negotiation around it. There wasn't even a suggestion that should happen. In fact, like in the past, time allocation was used as a machete to take the head off debate here. And yeah, I read that too, but I decided to use machete because, you know, you already said guillotine and it's in the book. So Madam Speaker, that's really what's supposed to happen. The original time allocation sort of approach in the House of Commons began around 1969. And it envisioned 3 options. 3 options, Madam Speaker, for allocating time. It envisioned option 1, all parties negotiate and agree on time allotted for all stages of the bill. Perfect. Why couldn't we do that? 4 House leaders meeting, building relationships, negotiating, coming up with a plan for, say, Bill 82. Perfect. Didn't happen. Wasn't even broached. Option 2, a majority of parties agree on the time allocated for a bill and its phases. Didn't happen either. That would be 3 out of 4 parties, but requires the House leaders to get together and negotiate. 4 House leaders, Madam Speaker, not 2. So the reality here in this House, Madam Speaker, is in this first session of the 60th legislature, the Government House Leader hasn't called a single meeting of the 4 House Leaders, not even once. Not even once. And he wonders why things aren't working the way he'd like to see them work. Madam Speaker, you may wonder why the House appears to be at times so dysfunctional. Because the role of the Government House Leader is to try and move, the legislative agenda of the government forward, among other things. But that requires discussion among 4 House Leaders, Madam Speaker. It's not happening. It hasn't happened once. So, if government wants to see the legislature run well, then the House Leader, Government House Leader, needs to communicate, he needs to negotiate, he needs to compromise.
You can only work with the willing, David. You know that.
This is not happening. This is not happening, Madam Speaker, and it's irresponsible.
Get a better House Leader.
You should get a new House Leader over there so we can have meetings. Madam Speaker, when I first was elected, there were daily meetings between the House Leaders, including myself, before the session the House started, and they were productive. We went to the Government House Leader's office, and we met, and everyone put what they were looking to get done on the table. There was discussion, negotiation. You sometimes had to go back and chat with the caucus and then return an answer. But it did work. It did work. So, Madam Speaker, if the House Leaders don't meet 4 House Leaders, then the business of the House cannot be effectively or efficiently planned at all. So, that's a sad state of affairs, and it just leads to frustration, Madam Speaker. It just leads to frustration and more ragging of the puck, more efforts on the government side to ram through their agenda. So you get this self-fulfilling prophecy going on, short-circuiting the consideration of bills, short-circuiting the ability of members to understand the bills, to be in a position to propose constructive amendments. I think in 80 some bills, there have been 3 bills that were amended as a result of opposition member amendments. 3 bills out of plus 80 bills. That's not a good record. It's not a good record. There are some more amendments, but those were ones ministers had to make on their own. So, the fact that we don't have a rule governing time allocation in the House, Madam Speaker, is a problem. The Speaker earlier on made a ruling drawing on the practices of the past since 2008 on the use of time allocation, and it's sort of the precedent created by the use of time allocation by the last 2 governments, Madam Speaker. But that's sort of, we need to do better. We need to change. We need at PP Locke to have the mandate to propose some rules in this House that would help it move and operate more smoothly and fairly, and that would require negotiation, discussion among all 4 House Leaders in this House, Mr. Speaker. So, the government had options. It could have negotiated time allocation through meeting of the House Leaders, but they'd need to meet to do that, and they don't. And it's interesting, Madam Speaker, the experience of our former House Leader, previous House Leader, who did a good job as well. The only chance she had to meet with the Government House Leader is by chasing him all the time. Chasing him, Madam Speaker. Chasing him to kind of nail him down, to talk with him. That's not the kind of leadership that should be coming from a Government House Leader, Madam Speaker, at all. So, Madam Speaker, second choice, they could have exempted Bill 82 from time allocation to ensure that it receives the examination it deserves at committee stage. And that's not going to happen. It's a significant bill. with far-reaching consequences out in time for so many New Brunswickers, so many communities. And when you look at it, you know, the gravity of the bill is significant because it also includes redistributing some authority, or appears to be, from the provincial government to regional service commissions, Madam Speaker. So there are big implications there, Madam Speaker. So we got to get it right. And I say we because we are the lawmakers in this province collectively. We've got to get it right. And that, like with equal opportunity, Madam Speaker, which was important, significant, with far-reaching implications and positive ones, the members of that legislature had to get it right, and that's why there were significant numbers of amendments made to improve the various bills that brought about equal opportunity. There was a real back and forth, Madam Speaker. There was a real recognition that, yes, we need to get this right, and yes, we'll take the time to deal with amendments as they come to try and ensure that that program of equal opportunity was going to be as effective as possible and achieve the goals that Premier Robichaud had laid out for it.
Can't do that.
So, Madam Speaker, now we are in this situation where we have time allocation. In a way, I wish that the Premier just decided to invoke closure. Then at least it would be clear. They just wanted to shut off debate and examination of the bill instead of playing this game with time allocation at the 11th hour. So, Madam Speaker, now we face the situation of the guillotine or the machete cutting off debate, and no chance whatsoever for those with concerns from around the province to speak to it, as we proposed in our motion to have this bill go to Law Amendments Committee so that people can be heard. But government didn't want them to be heard, so that didn't happen. So, Madam Speaker, as it's unconscionable that Bill 82 will have such limited time for serious scrutiny at committee, I'm going to make the following motion. Seconded by the member for Kent North. The amendment. Member of Kent North, our House Leader. That motion 89 be amended as follows. In the first resolution clause, by striking out 56 hours and substituting 75 hours. In the second resolution clause, by striking out 56 hours and substituting 75 hours. Madam Speaker, which would take us to the end of next Thursday. Thank you, Madam Speaker.